Flawed Man of God. This is my channel, and I am going to be continuing my my review of the Bible and my reactions to it as I go through it. I just want to let you guys know, if you haven't seen the stream before, my name's Stuart Davis. I'm not anybody special. I'm a deacon at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. Not here to try to get you to join my church or any special cause. What I am here to do is give you exposure to the life of what I consider to be an average Christian. Discuss struggles, thoughts, opinions, how things affect me, how I view things affect the Christian community. And one of the projects I'm working on, which I'm doing tonight, is a read through of the Bible and reactions to it, because I feel like the Bible is best gives its best context when read straight through. Obviously not in one sitting, but moving through it, you get more context. You understand a little bit more where passages are coming from. It's not just sitting into what you would normally see with a sermon, which is more of an instructional period, or a, you know, it's different from reading through and trying to understand a Bible than what you get or what I've always understand the purpose of a sermon is. But this is more of a, read through it, get thoughts and reactions on things. And what I'd love to see is, since I'm doing this live, and as I start to get a little bit more outreach, and I get people starting to view this more, I would love to get people to interact and join the chat and give me kind of what they're thinking as we go along as well, because the Bible it affects people much differently, between different folks, and it's always interesting to get somebody else's take on things. So give me just one moment, and I'm going to share this. I'm going to share this to my own Facebook page. Like I said, I'm still working on the outreach here, and yeah, that looks like me. And I've shared it. Excellent. So we'll get right into it. I will say that I am going to be doing another video, perhaps live after this, to do more of a reaction to current events. There was an article that came out about World News, which is a Christian publication. They recently had someone step down, and there's a lot of political talk, and not like internal politics of World, though that is a big part of things, but this is more on how it reacts to, or how it affects, or it's more of a reaction to politics in the world, in America, and I think that that's worth discussing and talking about. So again, let's get into Genesis chapter 12, and let me share this up here. There we go. Here we go. I'm using BibleGateway.com. I've said this before. If you've seen my videos, highly recommend this. It seems to me like it's more useful than any app that I've used. So this is what I just recommend. If you're on your computer or a laptop or on a tablet, this is great. Apps are fine, but this one I found is just handier. When I'm teaching Sunday school, I find that this is just able to pull things up faster, and it's got so many more interpretations of the Bible than I've ever seen. I use New International Version. It's what I grew up reading. It's what I'm most familiar with, and so that's, take the interpretation that seems to make the most sense to you as far as reading it. All right, so the call of Abram. All right, when we left off, we were just briefly introduced to Abram, and through a genealogy, and then we knew that his dad had just died, and so here he is now. The Lord has said to Abram, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all the peoples on earth will be blessed through you. That's pretty flattering. And if you're not putting two and two together, spoiler alert, Abram is going to become Abraham, and Abraham is the center of the two major religions, or I'm sorry, the three major religions on the planet to this day. Judaism, Christianity, Islam. And one of those happens to be the true faith. But regardless of that, I'm going to make you into a great nation. That is a huge portion of the population of the planet right now, and we're talking about thousands of years ago when this happened. And this is God speaking directly to this guy and just telling you, hey, I'm just going to heap all these blessings on you. I would be speechless. And it doesn't say that Abram actually said anything back, so he was probably the same thing. He was probably like, okay, this is great. Imagine going home, talking to his wife about this. Hey, guess what God told me today? He's gonna make me a blessing forever, basically. So after he says that, we pick up with verse 4. So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all the possessions they had accumulated, and the people they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there. Abram traveled through the land as far as the site of the great tree of Moreh at Shechem. At the time, the Canaanites were in the land. The Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your offspring I will give this land. So he built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. This is important. If you remember what we were talking about last night, we were talking about Canaanites. The Canaanites come from Ham. Ham was the son of Noah that ticked Noah off, and he was cursed because of it. And he said that the people of his brothers descendants, Shem and I can't remember the other guy's name. Shem's the important one in this case. We're going to rule over them and drive them out. And what do you know? Abram is a descendant of Shem. From there, he went on toward the hills of east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. Then Abram set out and continued towards the Negev. Okay, so he's starting his journey. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to live there for a while because the famine was severe. As he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is his wife. Then they will kill me, but they will let you live. Say you are my sister, so I will be treated well for your sake, and my life will be spared because of you. This, Abram's, this is always a difficult thing for me, account for me to reconcile in my head, because I couldn't imagine doing this myself. But this is not going to be the first time that Abram or his descendants do things that will completely not make sense to someone. But in that regard, what we're seeing is not that they don't make sense because something they're doing is inconceivable. It's just that it's kind of a knuckleheaded move. Or in this case, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? This isn't accounting well for yourself. You're basically saying, hey, I'm worried I'm going to get killed by these Egyptians because my wife is hot. So I'm going to need you to say that you're my sister. So then what are you going to go through Egypt and, they're all going to assume that this is an available woman who is very beautiful? That's not a recipe for success. When Abram came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that Sarai was a very beautiful woman. And when Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken into his palace. He treated Abram well for her sake, And Abram acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. Sounds a lot like Abram sold his wife to the Pharaoh, or at least he got a lot of he got a lot of payment for her getting Pharaoh's attention. But this is exactly what you thought was going to happen, right? You know, I have a beautiful wife. The Egyptians are going to kill me because of you. And now, so just say you're my sister, and they'll just assume that you're available. So, yeah, the people of Pharaoh, they go, oh, yeah, Pharaoh, this is really beautiful woman in here. You should meet her. And so he does, and he's very impressed with her. So, guess what? Now, Pharaoh's, courting her. And it doesn't really say much in the next passage, which makes me wonder a little bit. But the Lord inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh and his household because of Abram's wife Sarah. So Pharaoh summoned Abram. I don't know how far into this courtship Pharaoh and Sarah got into. I'm gonna start calling her Sarah because that's what her name ends up being. But whatever it is, God wasn't happy about it. Because he inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh. Now, God is very heavy-handed, especially in Genesis, on when he is irritated about things. So maybe it wasn't as bad as you can assume, but we've got that. So Pharaoh summoned Abram. "What have you done to me?" he said. "Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her to be my wife? Now then, here is your wife, take her and go." Then Pharaoh gave orders about Abram to his men, and they sent him on his way with his wife and everything he had. So, looks like he got to keep the things that he got, which, bonus, right? It's a lot better than what I would have done. If I was Pharaoh, and I saw this, so I'm the king of my land, and I see this beautiful woman, and, and this guy who I'm assuming is her brother, and presents himself as such, I'm sitting there giving him all these nice things because I'm really infatuated with this lady, and all of a sudden I start coming down with diseases, and so is the rest of my house because it's actually his wife. I might be a little bit more ticked off, but I guess Pharaoh's taking into account that God is the one who gave him these diseases. So maybe he's probably under the protection of God. So maybe that's why he just said, "Hey, look, just get out of here." First off, why? Why would anybody just say, "Hey, this is my sister," when she's actually your wife? And incomprehensible sometimes. And I said it seems incomprehensible, but people do knuckleheaded things like this all the time. It's just always something like, "What were you thinking?" And I think it's fear. It's fear at Abram. I guess, Abram's told by God at the beginning of this chapter that, he's going to be blessed, and all this great things are going to happen to him. So there's a lot of promises ahead of time. And he says, "I need you to just pick up and go." So I think at the beginning, when you get this promise, you are, it's easy to say, "Okay, yeah, I'm going to get all these nice things. Let me pick up and go," which does take a little bit of courage in and of itself. But now once you get into the journey, and you start to realize how rough the road might actually get, that's when your faith starts to get tested, and that's when you start making mistakes. And this is really, he's scared in this case. He's scared that something's going to happen to him. He ends up taking kind of a dishonest way to get out of it. And, I guess if you think your life is on the line, that might not matter that much to you. But it probably mattered to Pharaoh. And that's not a guy I don't want on my side. If I've got God on my side, that's great. That's the best. That's the best thing to have. But at the same time, you're also making powerful enemies. Egypt's a big player at this time. Abram and Lot separate. So Abram went up from Egypt to the Negev with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and silver and gold, as we had learned previous chapter. From the Negev, he went from place to place until he came to Bethel. to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier, and where he had first built an altar. There Abram called on the name of the Lord. So it sounds like Abram kind of went around in a big circle. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, but the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together. And quarreling arose between Abram's herders and Lot's. The Canaanites and the Perizzites were also living in the land at the time. So we see that Lot is very blessed, or I'm sorry, Abram and Lot are both very blessed, to the point where they're both keeping their livestock and conducting their business is not big enough to contain the two of them. And not only that, they also have the Canaanites and the Perizzites also in this land as well. So it's getting a little too crowded. And they're starting to fight over it. Doesn't sound like Lot and Abram are arguing, but they're the people who work for them, their employees, their slaves, their servants, whatever they are at the time. They're representing their masters, and they're running into each other. It's probably some confusion over who has what. So Abram said to Lot, "Let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herders and mine, for we are close relatives. Is not the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left." Pretty simple, okay? Yeah, this place is getting too small for us, so we need to split. Lot looked around and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan towards Zoar was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Spoiler alert. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out towards the east. The two men parted company. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. Now the people of Sodom were wicked and were sitting greatly against the Lord. So it looks like Abram is so Lot looks around. So so Abram's nice. He goes, "Hey, you pick where you want to go, and I'm just going to go the other way." So Lot looks around, sees that to the east looks pretty good. So he says he's going to take that. That takes him near Sodom. Some of y'all might already know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Not a very good ending for those two cities, but it looks nice out there. So Lot goes out there. We'll get back to him later. The Lord said to Abram after Lot had parted from him, "Look around from where you are, to the north and south, to the east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go, walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you." So Abram went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he pitched his tents. There he built an altar to the Lord. That's pretty impressive. God's being incredibly nice to Abram. What Abram's imagine the blessing, feeling as blessed as Abram feels at this point. You've picked up, all you need to do is listen to God, and that's what he's doing. And every time, it seems like, at every point, he's getting blessed by the Lord. Even when he makes a mistake, and said, like with his wife, God intervenes and puts a pox on Pharaoh's household, and so Pharaoh kicks him out and doesn't hang him or string him up or anything. He just says, "Hey, get out of here, and you get to keep all the things that I was giving you because I thought that you were her brother." Chapter 14, this will be the last one we do tonight. Abram rescues Lot. At the time when Amraphel was king of Shinar, Arioch king of Elasar, Kedorlaomer king of Elam, and Tidal king of Goyim, these kings were at war against Beras king of Sodom, Bersha king of Gomorrah, Shinab king of Admah, Shemeber king of Zeboim. I told you last night, these names and these words in these places are difficult to pronounce. Please don't ridicule me. And the king of Bela, that is Zoar. All these latter kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim, that is the Dead Sea Valley. For 12 years they had been subject to Kedorlaomer, But in the 13th year, they rebelled. So we got a big war going on. In the 14th year, Kedorlaomer and the kings allied with him went out and defeated the Rephites in Ashtaroth, Karnaim, the Zuzites in Ham, the Emites in Shava Kirithaim, and the Horites in the hill city of Syre, as far as El Paran near the desert. This is a painful thing to try to read out loud. Then they turned back and went to En Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and they conquered the whole territory of the Amalekites as well as the Amorites who were living in Hazezon Tamar. Then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zor, of course, marched out and drew up their battle lines in the valley of Siddim against Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goyim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits, and when the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some of the men fell into them, and the rest fled to the hills. The 4 kings seized all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, all their food. Then they went away. They also carried off Abram's nephew Lot and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. Okay, so there's a battle. Sodom and Gomorrah don't fare very well. This isn't the end of them, and this isn't the last we've heard of them. And while they run away, some of their stuff is taken, some of their people are taken, and one of them happens to be Lot. A man who had escaped came and reported this to Abram the Hebrew. Now Abram was living near the great trees of Mamre the Amorite, a brother of Eshcol and Aner, all of whom were allied with Abram. When Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called out the 318 trained men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. During the night, Abram divided his men to attack, and he routed them, pursuing them as far as Haboah, north of Damascus. He recovered all the goods and brought back his relative Lot, and his possessions, together with the women and the other people. It's important. He brought back the women too. But here's what we learn about Abram. So we go from Abram when he's scared of going into Egypt because his wife's so beautiful, to now when Lot gets captured, he's grabbing some of his personal guard, I guess, 318 trained men, and going out and rescuing him. And not only that, he's doing some decent tactics here. That's impressive. Good job, Abram. After Abram returned from defeating Kedorlaomer, however you pronounce his name, and the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley of Shaveh, that is, the king's valley. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram, saying, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand." And then Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. Sounds a lot like tithing to me. And it sounds like, we don't talk much about how much people back then believed in God. And what you will find in the Bible is not everything about God is completely rooted in the Hebrews, the Jews, and then later on the Christians. There is presence and there's belief of God outside of that. And every once in a while you'll get kind of an outsider and he'll come in and he is a believer. He's somebody who believes in God. And not just any God, the actual God, the true God that I believe in, that we all should believe in. So we have a king come out with food and drink, and he blesses him, and as a result, Abram just gives him 1/10 of everything, which is probably pretty significant because Abram's pretty well off. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people and keep the goods for yourself." But Abram said to the king of Sodom, "With raised hands have I sworn an oath to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or the strap of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, 'I made Abram rich.' I will accept nothing but what my men have eaten, and the share that belongs to the men who went with me, to Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them have their share." Okay, So Abram's not very impressed with Sodom. He's probably pretty ticked off. He doesn't have a very good impression of them because guess what? They're wicked people. And that'll bring us to chapter 15, the Lord's covenant with Abram, which I think is a good stopping point back here at 14. So, Abram's come a little way. He's got, approached by God in a very direct way, in a very flattering way. Told him he's going to receive all these blessings, but he's got to do what he's told, right? There's really not a bargain there. It's just God saying, hey, you're going to do this. He doesn't really, it's when he says it, he's not saying it in the form of a question or a request. Will you do this? Or can you do this? He's like, you will do this. So Lot does it. And he doesn't give him any type of grief or, he's not whining about it, which some folks that we run into through the Bible will actually do, believe it or not, will whine to God when he's giving them a direct command. I don't know. I'll give you my reactions to that when it happens. But he's very obedient here. He goes out and he does it. And even when, and God is true, because God is true to his word, he's getting, as long as Abram is doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is pretty much all the time, God's looking out to him even when he's making mistakes along the way. Not that he's not listening to God. He seems to be doing that the whole time. But when Abram's making these mistakes along the way. So we had that. Then as a result of that, he is very well off. He is made very well off. And not only him, but his nephew Lot, who seems to be very near and dear to him, and kind of a business partner in a sense, that they're both kind of working side by side. But when they become so successful that the area that they've settled in can't contain him anymore, he says, hey, let's split. They split. Lot gets the pick. He picks a really nice looking area, but he ends up getting caught in a war. And during that, when he's taken captive, Abram comes to the rescue, and sounds like he's got quite a posse with him. So we'll end there, and I think I'll get into my next stream after that. But this will be a good ending point, and hopefully you get something you get out of this, some pretty some pretty thoughtful commentary on Abram here, and are looking forward to the rest of it. Because like I said, once the account of Abram starts, the Bible really starts to move into this story type narrative where we're starting to learn more and more about the origins of God's chosen people and how we lead up to the birth of Christ, which is super important, obviously. So, in the meantime, you guys have a good evening.